Yeah. Yeah. Just my pause. Okay, so we're here with the Hi-Fi Min, which one, the Edition XS with the changed Tacony pads, on the Z Reviews branded cable from Periapt. And we're plugged into the HO200, which is SMSL's competitor for like the A90. Like, I gave it props, a sticker, and put it there. So what happens when you take a $400 amplifier, remove half the number to the HO100, and then reduce the price by like 60%. So instead of $400, it's now $150. Well, very little apparently. So yeah, Aoshita sent these out. I have the stack, the Hoodoo stack. I'm gonna call it that. There was the HO200 and the DO100, and those were the DAC and amp. The half stacks, or the smaller ones, are the DO100 DAC and the HO100 amp. And I didn't peel off the protective cover on the plastic. It says it's glass, it's plastic. So you can peel that off. If I sell these in the yard sale, that'll be for you guys. Yard sales, by the way, if you join my Patreon or Subscribe Star and you want to buy something that I reviewed, feel free to get there and bid on these items. Anyway, I have both of them here. Here's the DAC. Ooh, and here's the amp. Ooh, let's get the amp out of the way first. Mostly because the amp is more interesting. Because $150 for this, that's competing with the shit stuff, the Geshelly stuff, the Mayflower stuff. This is cheap stuff. This is competing with the cheap stuff. And when I plug it into the HO200, when I plug whatever headphones in, I got the Lyrics, I've got these Zephones, which we'll get to the review of those. They're here because they're here. I've got these amazingly modified Magnavox, which you probably saw in the last video. I've modified these Magnavox Ship 9500 clones to be amazing, with violence. And I'm switching to the expensive $400 amp and then back to this. And this is 6 watts a channel at 16 ohm, and this is 3 watts a channel at 16 ohm. So it's half the number, half the wattage, less than half the cost. And it sounds nearly as good. That has little, maybe, I had to convince myself that it sounds different. Because if I sit here and told you, oh, they sound exactly the same, then then I look bad. Or SMSL looks bad because they don't know how to make a cheap amp not as good as their expensive amp. Take your pick. But I think there's a little bit more low end. Also, this is going RCA out of the DO100, and this is coming the XLR out of the DO100. So this might have a slight advantage, and this might have a slight disadvantage, because when you feed a amplifier, this has a switch right here, XLR or RCA. When you feed an amp RCA, it gets 2¼ volts, or 2 volts. When you feed it XLR, it gets 4 volts. So an amplifier has less to do when you give it a higher voltage. That's a little, it's something you know. That's why the Geshelly Lab stuff, it's all balanced. It has less to do. It's already getting 4 volts per channel. It just has to take that and convert that to something that pushes headphones with a little more amperage. But when you take it from 2, you have to it has to go up more. So there might be an advantage to going XLR over RCA, which is why the 200 and the 100 sound so fucking similar. It's like scary similar. And if you sound similar to the thing that I said competed with the A90, which is, I think, is still a $500 or $600 amp, with their $400 amp, and now their $150 amp sounds like their $400 amp, which competed with the $650 amp, that sounds like a fucking buy. Unit Tour, it's sort of tethered. One thing I really like about the Hoodoo series, whether it's the 200 or the 100, full 110 volt internals, no power bricks. There's 2 ways to look at this. Power bricks could be great, because if one fails, you throw it out and you buy another one and you have a new power brick. If you want to get a better power brick for, obsessive compulsive reasons, you can do that. But then there's a fucking power brick on the floor, lining up, and you got to plug in the thing, and you got to leave a little wire, a little dangly. This actually is easier for me. Just full-size fucking 110. In fact, I got to unplug it from this, because this is not the cable it comes with. I don't know what these baluns are doing. But full-size power plug, 100 to 240 volts. You don't have to flip any switches. XLR inputs, RCA input, the end, it's done. You also get pre-outs on this, which would probably explain why it's more than twice the price. Because it's not just twice the power, it has other options. This also has a full-size 4-pin and a 4.4 and a quarter. This, on the front, only has a 4.4 and a quarter. You don't get the XLR. On-off switch. The off turns that LED red. I don't know if you could see that. I'm trying to like figure things out. Blue when it's on, instead of any other color on the face of the fucking. Can I get this cover off? It's gonna look better, but I sell it in the yard sale. It'll look better for you when you get it. XLR to RCA switch. We're in XLR, not RCA. Done. It has low, medium, high. We're on medium. Here's your knob. It's actually quite a nice knob. It sticks out farther than it does in the HO100. I like a knob that I can like get my whole tip on. I want to tip my knob. I want to tip the whole knob. It's smooth though. It has no texture. Same as this. This is a wider diameter and it's like pinching. It's like, And this one, whilst it juts out more, is completely smooth. So you could actually do that and not be changing the volume at all. Not the biggest problem in the world. We'll live with it. But it is very smooth to turn and very clean. I don't hear any channel imbalance or distortions when I'm turning it. I don't hear anything when I'm turning it. Is this even... Yeah, no. Usually you hear like something and it's just dead fucking silent. Here's your serial number on the bottom. That's it. It's probably one of the most basic... Look at a fingerprint magnet on that. Damn Italians. Damn my Italian genes. I touched the meatball in 1973 and now it's still on me. This basic bitch. It's a basic bitch. It's priced like a basic bitch, and it outperforms a lot of other basic bitches. How's the sound characteristics, Zeos? Is it a warm amp? Is it a neutral amp? Does it have, like... Because now I'm looking over here at the not much more expensive IFI Zen Can, which has wholly more features going for it. Wholly more features going for it. It's got 4 gain settings. It's got multiple inputs. I mean, this has 2 inputs. That has 3 inputs. That has the 3D and the X bass. So that does more. But if you were using that straight flat and you're using this straight flat, I think they'd fucking just... You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It's got that fucking sound signature of, well, I know this isn't fucking with the sound. It's not making it overly bassy. It's not brightening anything. But it's also not boring. We are done with the THX boredom brigade. I don't want... The only THX amps that aren't boring are the K9. I think the K9. And I would probably... You know what? I would still keep the benchmark giant power amp in the boring side, but it's so fucking powerful and clean, it doesn't matter. So I think that this... Put back on Sam Cooke. Me... Bring my sweet lovin', bring it on home to me. Yeah. Everything's punchy and tight. I'm on medium gain just so I could run it at noon. If I'm on this, I'm on medium gain and I'm at like 1030. So you're not getting like an insane amount of difference for half the power. Half the power usually means I'll put the lyrics on. Even though I've mentioned previously the lyrics do not need a quality amp or like a super high-end amp. But if I could use lyrics, then I'm gonna use lyrics. Yeah, if I put it on low, I could run the lyrics at 2 o'clock. There's no detriment to you. Oh, the bass. What is this? Orax Fears from the new Retrowave. This bumps. Okay, yeah, no. Highly approve the HO100. It just does its business as well as better. You know what? It's better. If this was a $250 amp, I'd still give it the nod. Since it's a $150 amp, it gets the nod and like a seal of approval. I'm gonna disconnect it now. I'm gonna disconnect you now. And you can take off that high-res sticker. I'm gonna put you up here on top of your Big Daddy HO200. So here's your HO200 and HO100. And now we're gonna look at this for a little bit. A very short little bit, because DACs do DAC things. And while this is 150, if this DAC was 150, I'd be like, ooh, this is an excellent DAC. It's excellent. It comes with remote control, does everything I want, but it's 240. So that's a little bit more pricey. It is a dual Saber DAC, as most things are and most things should be. We've got our XLR outputs, our RCA outputs, which are going to that, feeding via Amazon Basics RCAs, because I have a ton of these and I don't use them well enough now that I've got all those world's best. But these are still quality fucking RCA cables. Here's our digital input. I'm using coaxial at the moment. It has a USB-C for signal. It's got an optical. It's got the coaxial. It's got a Bluetooth antenna. Those are your choices. Again, power plug goes straight into the back. No need to worry about a power brick or a wall wart. Very simple, very basic. I turned it off. The screen is dumb as fuck. It's just dumb. It just shows you 44.1 or coaxial or the filter setting you're on. So let's go to filter 6 just because. The DP, which is not double penetration. What's DP stand for? Oh, God. You know the thing, the thing. Anyway, you just tap through this. FL6, DP7, USB 2.0. Backlight can be all the way down to 1 or all the way up to 5. And there's no difference between, like, 5 is the brightest. 3 and 4 are identical. 2 and 1 is dimmer. Take your pick. If you're using it in a living room, I always assume DACs like this, because they have a remote and because they're high quality, like good Saber DACs, this would be an ideal DAC. I actually just did a review upstairs. I did the video where I explained how to hook a subwoofer up to any system. This would be an ideal style DAC to put in a living room. You plug your fiber optic from your TV into it. You have your Bluetooth. You have RCAs to wire up to a sub. You have your XLRs to wire up to powered studio monitors. Take your pick of Atom T5Vs. I don't think Emotiva sells those anymore. But any sort of powered studio monitor. Ooh, the Mackeys MR624s. I love those speakers. Mackie MR624s. You know, an SVS Micro 3000 sub. You get your fiber optic input. You stick this on your cabinet with your TV. It's very small. It's very light, and you just control your studio monitors. Here's your remote. They've got the new style RC8C remote control for remote. I just smashed it into the ground really hard. That was amazing. Oh God. Oh, it picked up all of the floor. Does it still work? Yep, still works just fine. So you've got your power up here, which there's no standby indicator on that. I kind of like standby indicators. Like this has standby indicator if it goes red, which it's currently unplugged, so it won't show me. But I would like a standby indicator there. It comes on, it says 100. That, I just realized something that infuriates me. So you turn it off, you turn it on, it says 100 for the DO100, right? But then you go to raise the volume, and the volume stops at 90 fucking 9. Fuck it, just fucking throw everything off the table. I'll get the back of the remote later. Yeah, why do that? You just showed me you could do 100. You did it. Anyway, the volume control is not slow. It's pretty linear. If you're using it for like studio monitors, if you're using it on your desk for a headphone amp, you're just going to nail it to 99 and be done with it. And then you're going to control it somewhere else. You get your input select of USB, Bluetooth, optical, coaxial, USB, Bluetooth, optical, coaxial. That's it. Your function is literally shut off the screen, show me the kilohertz, or shut off the screen, or show me the kilohertz. That's your option. Mute brings up the actual volume and flashes it, which is nice. And then your up, down, left, right lets you, well, down seems to pick your, yeah. So up and down also do the input, but instead of cycling 100%, it goes one direction or the other direction. That's kind of nice. Usually they only go in one direction and you're done. This will let you jump from, or maybe not. What the hell? Okay. Did the remote just die? No, the remote's fine. Wait, I was just able to... Okay, the devil came out and made it not work. I was about to say, oh, it's very nice that you could just switch back and forth instead of having to cycle through, but apparently you do have to cycle through, and it doesn't love me. So there's a center button that lets you pick which is displaying, either the input or the kilohertz. And then left and right do jack shit, all. And then power. So As far as basic DACs with remote controls go, we are not at a loss for how many. We've got the topping D30. We've got, what's the other estimate? Oh, we've got so fucking many. Oh my God. I'm covering the camera like I'm covering my face. It's like, I can't even think of how many. This is just the newest in the line. And I actually do like the DO100 setup. Like, they definitely come from a different factory than everything else. I love the just manual switches. Love switches. I love switches, bitches. Fucking love them. Not much else to say about this other than it sounds clean. It's $240. It's not a $100 DAC. It's a $240 DAC. Do I have any problems feeding, you know, this $400 amp with it? Or this $150 amp with it? And trying all these expensive fucking headphones? Well, these are not expensive at all. But these, or those, or these, or anything else I fucking had down here this weekend? No, not at all. It gets a full approval. It just doesn't suck my dick. So, I mean, I'm waiting for that DAC, or amp, or Bluetooth receiver, or fucking special cable. Something's gonna physically suck it. And then I'm gonna be really impressed by it. But not till then, it's another DAC. It's $240. It's quality. It competes with everything in its price range, everything around it. Anything that's a dual saber. They could talk about the fucking signal to noise ratio all they want. Where is it? That's the HO100. Where here? $240. It's got, you know, CNC machine milling process and dual ES9038Q2M DACs with OPA 1612x4 op amps and Bluetooth 5 and a full function remote control. Even if I smash it on the ground, I have to get that cover. Remember to get that cover. It works. It works great. Signal to noise ratio. Here, wait. Go out to the bottom of the Yoshida page. It's got 127 decibel signal to noise dynamic range. Frequency response is flat. It has a distortion degree of like fucking none. 0.000087 and 86. Yeah, it measures as good as any DAC you'd ever need in your entire fucking life. That's the way I look at it. Some DACs, like if I listen to like an AKM versus a Saber, and I could actually compare A to B, like the FIO versus the FIO K9 versus the FIO K9, and I might be able to hear like some sort of changes. That's when you have identical units. There is no AKM version of this to compare to. If I found another DAC that was an AKM version, some little minor part of the circuitry would be different, and I wouldn't be able to say it's apples to apples. It'd be apples to a special green apple. So it's like, if I hear a difference, is it really there? Is it fair to compare these two things? So I'm just gonna give this, like, DACs basically get a checkbox, and then another checkbox for feature rich or feature light. This has a remote. That's its features. Bluetooth, I guess. Some of them don't have Bluetooth. The topping D30 doesn't have Bluetooth, which, the only thing I would concern myself with if I use an Amazon Alexa, you can set the thing as your Bluetooth device for the Alexa, so you could use your speakers to talk to her, and she could sing you lullabies. So, overall, an impressive little stack. This is a little pricey, but this for $150 is a fucking steal. Considering the Big Brother's 400, and if you don't need a preamp out, and you could use half the power, which it's still at 16 ohms, 3 watts. And I think at, hold, want to get this number right. Where my hose at? Where my HO100 at? Hose at? Yeah, 3 watts at 16, 200 milliwatts at 300 ohms. You know what it doesn't say? It doesn't say if there's a difference between the balanced and the unbalanced. Is this not a balanced amp? Because usually there'd be a difference, there'd be a power difference, and it would tell you the two different powers. I need an adapteroonie. Let's test a thing right now. Can I hook this back up? I'm gonna give this a hooky. And then we're gonna test a thing, which I should have tested before this review started, but you know, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around every once in a while, you could miss it. I'm gonna give this a test-a-rooney. By the way, these are APOS cables. Zeos, you wanna link those cables on APOS? They came with the the X16 and the, what brand was that? Fuck. I'll find it. And I'm going to plug this in here. Ugh. And then I'm going to put these on. And we are playing. We are volumed at 99. I'm going to plug it into the balanced. Make sure we're playing. Give us our waifu back. We need to set this to XLR. This needs to be set to coaxial, which, by the way, we can push that in to adjust it to. There is no sound playing for some reason. What did Zeos do wrong? Oh, that would be nice. We probably need to power the amplifier as well. Turn that down. Okay, low gain. And now I'm going to plug it into this. Let me get to a louder song. Consistently loud. Same volume. So either it's got circuitry inside that makes it the same volume, or it's not a truly balanced amp. I'm going to lean towards the second half of that. I feel like that's the main difference then between the HO200 and the HO100. HO. It's HO. It's a HO, okay? Is they give you the 4.4 only as a convenience. When you run this adapter, it's the exact same volume. Which, if it's the exact same volume, it means it's not using separate circuitry. So it's one of those like, okay, it's got balanced connections, which again will benefit to the amplifier's ease of being used, but it's giving you a single-ended signal. It's fine, honestly fine. If an amp is this clean, one of the reasons you had balance in the old days, in the before time, was balance connections were cleaner, like actual signal to noise. But you saw the numbers I just fucking read for like the amp and the DAC. Everything is so clean that unless you're striving to get power, which is why this makes sense as being double, this is double the power because it's using balanced. This is half the power because it's using single-ended. Everything makes sense now. So that's true balanced, and this is not true balanced, and yet I still couldn't hear a fucking difference. That makes it even more fucking like, what? Because if I plug in this to here, RCA... Do 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 do. It's negligibly different. Negligibly. That's people in audio fear the fuck out of that word. Is there a difference? Because if I say no, then there's no reason to think about the other one. If I say it's negligible, then you're like, well, that doesn't mean nothing, so I have to look at the more expensive one. It's up to you. It's how deep your pockets are. It's what you want to buy. I'd probably still pick the HO200 just for literally being truly balanced, double the power. But 99% of the headphones in my wall would work perfectly fine on the 100. There it is. End of this review. Anyway, thank you to Aoshita for sending these out. I just have to rub this down with like a whole piece of chicken just to get all the grease even. I will link to the HO200 and the DO200, and a link to the HO100 and the DO100, and I'll link to the 4 headphones that are here. Wait, you know what? I'm not linking to the Magnavox. Even though once you cut them apart with a fucking saw violently, that's so broken now. Still a good headphone. Still a good headphone. I don't want these headphones fucking hurt because they literally took me cutting them apart to make them work right. And I don't want to let people buy them and then try to do that and hurt themselves. It's a whole moral decisions here. Anyway, links to these. Thank you, Aoshita. Links to the wallpaper. Patreon and subscribe to support this channel. See reviews early, participate in yard sales, and get access to the sound demos that are either gone or new sound demos that are lossless, or that Puffin sound demo that I did where there's no copyright things because it's not on YouTube. So maybe I'll just put all my sound demos there and use whatever the fuck music I want. Fuck everybody. But for now, sound demos are on the second channel. If you want to see second channel sound demos, that's linked in the description. I also do other reviews there, like software reviews. Apparently, I really like yelling about software and know what I like and how it helps me. Yes. $10 a month gets you in the private behind-the-scenes Telegram chat, where I'll answer your questions directly. You also get into a lifetime swap meet chat. So even if you stop being my patron, you are in the lifetime swap meet chat with other people who were in the $10 patronage chat ever, and buy, sell, and trade gear. The Hi-Fi Guides forum and the Hi-Fi Guides site, which is very, very, very outdated. Ignore the site. Keep the forums. Yeah, trust me. Those exist. When you get the wallpaper, if you look below that, there's another link that's for the Resilio Sync Horde. Again, a piece of software I reviewed on the second channel, which will allow you to see every wallpaper I've ever used ever synced to your computer, including when I changed this one an hour ago and I dragged it into the folder. Every one of those 160 people who were synced got it. So, yeah, it's a miracle of science what torrents can do. Legal torrents, legal torrent technology. I'm done. You're done. We're done. I will see you in 2 more days for another review. Until then, I'm Zeospantera.